Hi, Julie here with paperbeadcrafts.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make these pretty sun catchers with large crystals in the center and paper beads. And what you're going to need is the instructions, and on this instructions I'm going to read the list to you of what you're going to need. First off, you're going to need some necklace sized memory wire, and I happen to have a coil here. And you're going to use one continuous large, one complete loop. So what you're going to do is you're going to find I'll show you in a few minutes. And then the next thing that you're going to need is 13 paper beads, any diameter, as long as they're 1/2 inch long. It's important, the length is important because you're going to be needing 13 total, and you want them to fit on the one single round coil. And this is what I'm going to be using today. These are teal colored, 1/2 inch long, and these are probably a little bit less than 3/8 of an inch in diameter, but the diameter really doesn't matter. Okay, the next thing that you're going to need are 13 rondelle crystals. And the ones that I happen to have here, I got these from one of the craft stores. I'm not sure which one. It might have been AC Moore or one of those. Basically what it is, they're 4x6 millimeter crystal rondelles, and they're clear. And then the next thing that you're going to need are size 6 seed beads or clear e-beads. They're I like to use these, but you can really use whatever you want. These are crystal clear, so you're going to need 26 of these. Okay, and then the next thing that you're going to need is a crystal from a crystal chandelier, and I was able to get mine from Amazon.com, and it comes like this. There's 10 to a package, and they're called High Rock. And when I got mine, they were packaged in individual packets like this, and the part that you actually want to use is this big part with the loop. You want the loop, so you'll be taking these two little crystals off. And when you do, I found these on Amazon, so when you do an Amazon search, just put in crystal chandeliers or chandelier crystals. You can put in High Rock, so you know that you're getting the same thing that I got. And they're teardrop chandelier, bag of 10, and it included a cleaning cloth. Also, if you happen to have a crystal chandelier that needs replacements, well, this might actually work. Anyway, this is what I bought for this project. And then also, in order to be able to put the chandelier crystal on with this bead here and have a hanger, you're going to need 20 gauge wire, and I happen to use silver. You've seen me use this before. I bought this at Walmart in the craft department, and actually it was in the children's craft department, over in the craft department, where they have the little pom-poms and the jingle bells and stuff like that. That's where I found this. This is 20 gauge, silver colored. And you could use artistic wire also, it'd be prettier. But I just wanted something that was going to match the tone of the memory wire that I'm using, and it's a perfect match. Okay, and then the one more thing that you're going to be using is a suction cup to hang it on your window, of course. And this package I found at Walmart. Can't remember how much I paid for it, but it's perfect. It's they're 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and it works just fine. And these are relatively inexpensive. I did buy some at Amazon also. My nearest Walmart's an hour away, so I order a lot online. Okay, so let's get started actually assembling this. Okay, the first thing you're going to do is cut your memory wire. I'm going to move all this stuff aside, get it out of my way. And according to my instructions, step 1, cut a complete circle from the memory wire. So that's what you're going to do. The tools that you'll need for that is one of these memory wire cutters. You don't want to use anything else because you don't want to damage your good jewelry making pliers. Memory wire cutters are made specifically for memory wire. And let's see if I can find the end. It's always tricky. Alright, where is that end? Okay, come on. Where'd the end go? Alright. There we go. It's way in there. And you want a complete circle. You want one whole loop. And you don't want anything smaller. Because this is designed to be made with 12 beads. 12 paper beads that are 1/2 inch long. Okay, so you cut it in a perfect circle. And then the next thing that you do, according to the instructions, is you take a pair of needle nose pliers. You want good strong ones for this. So I'm pulling out my good ones. And the loop that you're going to make here at the very end, actually this overlapped a little bit, so I'm going to be cutting off some at the end. You want to make a downward loop. And I like to make it probably 1/8 of an inch away from the nose, so that way the hole is big enough. And you want to make your loop, and you want to make it a closed, simple loop. And if you have to, one way that I actually go ahead and finish closing that is I use crimping pliers. You can use chain nose pliers as well, but I find the crimping pliers grab better. So I just squeeze it till it's closed. And it's important that this is a straight loop, because the other end is going to be looped sideways, so it will hook into it. So it will hook into it and provide the loop that you're going to need for hanging the chandelier. So I've got flat nose pliers. I'm going to flatten this a little bit because it's not perfectly flat. And then we can get started with the pattern of the little beads that you're going to put on it. And I'll just do, you know, 1.5 patterns or so, and then we'll move on to the next step. I'll pause the camera and move on. Okay, so I'm going to grab some of my little seed beads and put them in here. Fill this tray right up and let them fly, let them go. Alright. You only need 26 of them. I think I overdid it, don't you think? Alright. So, no big deal. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is, as you can see here, I have a pattern going of seed bead, rondelle, seed bead, and paper bead. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I begin and end with the glass beads, and we'll get started. Oh, pull up my glass beads, these rondelles. So I do one of these, one of these, and one of these. Okay, then I put one of these on, and then do the repeat. And I'm not going to bore you by doing the whole circle on camera like I said a minute ago. I will go ahead and do this off camera and be right back. Okay, so I've gotten all the beads on with my last addition here of just the clear beads. And the next step is step 4, which is close the memory wire hoop by bending the straight end sideways and make a hook that will hook into the starting loop. Hook them together with either chain nose pliers or crimping pliers. Squeeze the hook closed to lock the loop into the hook. Alright, so the way I do that is, since I'm going to be doing this sideways, this is kind of tricky to do it sideways, but you're going to take your hook and you're going to bend this sideways, or your needle nose pliers. Okay, and bend it sideways. Then you're going to cut a little bit off because you don't need a big, gigantic, humongous loop. So You cut it down to within 3/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. And try not to let it fly. Okay, so I've got about 3/8 of an inch total. And I'm going to bend it a little bit more sideways. This is kind of tricky to get it there to go sideways. Okay, then you're going to bend it back like you would any other simple loop to make your hook. It's kind of tricky, but you want to make it as a hook and hook it to the first loop. I'm going to do a little bit more so it will stay better. Okay, then hook it. And again, I'm going to take my crimping pliers and squeeze it. There we go, and that's squeezed closed. Okay, and that should almost form a nice circle. And if you look here, this is bending down a little bit too much, and it doesn't look like it flows too evenly. So you can fix that by lifting up on it a little bit, if you can get your needle nose in there. You don't really have to worry about it if you don't want to. That looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to leave that the way it is because that looks pretty good. We're going to set this aside for now, but we are actually almost done. The next step is to go ahead and work with the pretty crystal. So I'm going to go ahead and take these little crystals off. You just want to open it up. It's almost like a complete split ring, but it's not. And you just take those off and use them in another project. And then you have this. Okay, then the next step is you're going to take about 3 inches of your craft wire. I don't have a ruler, so I'm going to have to eyeball it, but you want about 3 inches. And I'm going to pull out my regular wire cutters for this, because I use my memory wire cutters just for memory wire, nothing else. Okay, so I'm going to cut about 3 inches. And I'm going to make a simple loop at one end with my needle nose pliers. And again, I'm going to go probably 1/4 of an inch away and make a simple loop. And then I'm going to bend this back just a tiny bit to straighten the little loop at the end. Okay, and you want it to be open slightly, because what you're going to do at this point is you're going to slide this wire onto the loop, and then you're going to close it up. Again, I like using crimping pliers. It just makes it easier for me. And that's closed. And then the next step, believe it or not, is you're going to put another paper bead on here and push it all the way down. You want to hide the tips of the loop inside your hole. And there's a little bit of a note about these paper beads. I didn't mention that I use the 5/64 inch paper bead roller to make these. And I'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. And then what I do at this point is I need to be able to push this up through the sideways loop. And then I'm going to make a wrapped loop, and hopefully that'll, hang in the center correctly. That looks pretty good, actually. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle nose pliers and put it maybe about halfway or so up my pliers and bend it over, just like that. That starts the beginning of my wrapped loop. Then I'm going to turn it and pull it down a little bit, so that way I have a little bit of space underneath the bend right there where my thumb is. And you're going to pull this up and over and behind the memory wire, and then twist your pliers towards you so that the end of the wire is twisted out away from you. And then you're going to wrap this end of wire around the base or the stick or the stem of your 20 gauge wire. And I'm going to do 2 or 3 loops and then cut it off. Alright, so I've got that. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. Sometimes these cutters have a hard time. Alright, so there might be a little bit of fussing to make sure that the loop and this loop are oriented in opposite directions because of the way the crystal needs to hang. You want the loop inside to be facing, so you can see the loop facing you. And you want the top loop also to be, well, actually to be going the other way so that you can hang it on your suction cup. So they need to make sure they go in opposite directions. So grab a hold of one of them. Actually, I'm going to straighten this little loop out. It's not quite where I want it. There we go. And I want to make sure that these are going in opposite directions. So I grab a hold of that loop, and I grab a hold of the other loop. And I make sure they are going perpendicular to each other. And that should do it. Actually, they should be going the same way, excuse me. And they are going the same way, so that works. It's this little wire loop that you want perpendicular to the loop that is coming out of the bottom of the bead. Alright, so this is done. It's just a matter of hanging it up onto your suction cup, onto the loop, and hanging it up wherever you want. And that is that. That's okay. Now, one more thing about the beads. This video is actually meant to show you how to make the Suncatcher, not how to make the beads. If you don't know how to make paper beads, you can watch my tutorials, and there are lots of videos on YouTube about how to make paper beads. And I also offer the paper bead rollers that you'll need that make it easier to roll up the strips. And I have videos on how to glaze your beads. And basically what these instructions, do talk about that. The paper that I used for this was actual cardstock, that it was printed on my computer, and I used my free bead sheet designer that is on the website at paperbeadcrafts.com, so you can go ahead and make these if you want to. What I did for this one is I used the variable taper setting, which means that the image was printed down both sides of the paper, down both sides like this, and then I cut the cardstock across back and forth this way. And I made sure that with these beads, the wide end was 1/2 inch and the narrow end was 1/4 inch. And that's how I got that design. So if you want to copy that design, that's what you could do. And these, I do have the free bead sheet of this particular pink print on my website. Just go ahead and look for it in the library. And these actual beads were 1/2 inch on the wide end, 1/8 inch on the narrow end. You can pretty much do what you want. And these beads are the ones that I talked about just the previous video. The striped beads, the colorful striped beads. And basically these beads are 1/2 inch on the wide end and nothing at the narrow end. And what I did with these is I did the 1/8 inch lines on the diagonal on the paper from one corner to another, and then I cut them into strips. And then I colored one end about 2 inches at one end, flipped it over onto the back, and colored the other end about 1/2 inch. So that way the inside core is yellow, and then the sides are white and yellow, and then the center is yellow. And if you saw that, there is another video that explains how to make these particular beads. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. You can also share this video with anyone that you want. And then also these instructions are on our website at paperbeadcrafts.com in the library. I will provide a link for you down in the description. And that's it for today. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. And thank you for watching. Thank you and have a great day. Goodbye.